podcast.
Yeah, we have the videos with it.
What it is another episode of Epic Sketch Time. This is the first time we've done it at 4:30 on a Monday. I just got off the phone with Stowe. It turns out that the school in which he lives, Andy Wright, there must have been some certain button got pushed somewhere because the school has denied him access to doing the hangout. Maybe one of the students crossed the line and they just made it so that none of the students could do it, and it just happened to go up to his apartment. Anyway, all the IT guys at the school have gone home for the night, and so he is MIA, and he apologizes to everybody.
That bites.
But I'm glad you guys were able to come.
I almost didn't. I was really busy at work, and I kind of forgot about this until like 3:30. And I was like, oh no, I agreed I would do that. I better get home.
I was in the bathroom and didn't hear Stowe calling until I came back into my office. And normally he would just send out a text and get to me, but I have this strict no phone in the bathroom policy. So.
Probably a good policy. What?
So if you ever hear something flushing, you know I'm just messing with you.
Sure.
So I'm going to show you guys something. Oh, let's see. I've started working on a painting.
What? Comic artists can't paint.
So this is for... You can't see it past the stencil, but this is going to be for an art show called The Women of Star Wars. And I thought, well, what Woman of Star Wars is extremely obscure and seldom seen? And I thought, the Women of the Tusken Raiders. And it turns out they have a very distinct costume. It basically looks like an ironclad steel burqa. And it was funny that...
But how do you... I mean, burqas are soft and iron is...
Well, you know how the Tusken Raiders have the hard things coming out of the soft things? So kind of imagine something like that, burqa-ish, on the face with some long drop things with a sort of like a slit over the eyes.
That almost sounds just like normal plate mail.
And in researching this, I found, because I thought, maybe I should just do a family portrait. For a moment, I thought you were complaining.
No, sorry. My cat Jace here. He will not leave me alone until I show him off. Come here. Say hi to the viewership. He's such a sweetie pie. Hey. Claus. Claus, young man.
What a sweetheart.
Hey.
So apparently Tusken children all wear the same unisex costume until they turn of age.
This is why you're not allowed on my computer, because you're drooling buckets. Ew. Ugh. Sorry, go on.
I don't know, your conversation with the cat seems much more interesting.
Oh, you can tell he's happy because he starts drooling on you, and it's not a small amount of drool. And I'm allergic to cat drool, so my hands will probably be red by the end of the night.
Our next door neighbor, Siamese, was a drooler, and I thought it was disgusting. I can understand a dog drooling, and I had a Great Dane. There was plenty of drool in my life, but the idea of a cat drooling...
No, yeah, I love Jace. He is a sweetie pie. He is my cat, but I do not love his drooling. Out. You're done. He's a kind of big cat too, so he can like, without even getting up on his hind legs, he can reach up to the handles of my chair too. Go away.
Hey, Mark and Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
If I may have the camera for the moment, I'll continue the show and tell. I am not working on a Tusken Raider burqa-clad women project, but I happened to receive in the mail today my
Cool.
Kickstarter copy of Untold Tales of Bigfoot by Vince Dorse.
Whoa.
It is quite beautiful, as you can see from what I'm holding up here. Very nice, high quality book, great color, and there's all kinds of bookmarks and buttons and sticker and Bigfoot patch. I'm a friend of Bigfoot. And Vince is hard at work tonight actually packing up the remaining Kickstarter packages, and he may be watching. So, Vince, if you're watching, hello. Thank you very much. Great job on the book. And I told him I would plug the website. You can pick up your own copy at vincedorse.storeenvy.com. And that's all I got. Now I'm going to start sketching epically. And I think Bill is here.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. I've been having a comedy of errors regarding my email accounts, and at the moment I've been using it just on my laptop, which mostly works great unless you want to have access to the link to in your main computer.
One of the assignments I was given today was to a client wants me to do a small little icon for a online group that he has. I do these all the time for him, and he wanted a snarling wolf with some text that says Act 12. And this is what I came up with. I usually do just a quick rough draft, send it over to him, then I do something cleaner later on.
Oh, nice.
I like that.
Yeah, hopefully he'll like it when it's only going to be 400 pixels by 400 pixels, so the design has to be small and able to reduce down to something legible. So, Crystal, what are you working on tonight?
I'm working on cleaning up thumbnails for a project I'm working on called Light and Shadow. It's about 36 pages, which has been expanded from the comic I put together for the 24-hour comic this year. And I'm going through and doing the art cleanup to make a lot clearer drawings so that I can ink over them later. I've got about 8 pages done that are inked so far, but I don't have much more gone through on the thumbnails that's ready to print, so that's what I'm working on tonight. So quiet now.
Well, last week it was my birthday, and Stowe and I went out to see, what was the movie? Oh yeah, Doctor Strange. He had yet to see it, and it was my second viewing, and it still held up on the second. I can't remember the last time I went to go see a movie at the theaters twice. I don't think, not since college.
I mean, the last movie I was totally, the last movie that I went and did that once. Oh, I take that back. The last movie I did that with was Rango. And before that, Coraline.
Ranko, that gecko lizard played by Johnny Depp.
He's a chameleon, but yes.
And you went to see that twice?
It's a gorgeous. Technically, it's a fucking brilliant movie, and if you're a fan of spaghetti westerns, it's this utter love letter to them.
Obviously, we know where the two sides of this coin.
I mean, it's sort of like I've never seen designers pull off this wonderful, deliberate ugliness and everything. I mean, for all people who complain about the problem with CGI being too clean, this movie fixed that.
Oh man, I will give it that. Like, they got all those different lizard skin textures, like, spot on.
Uh-huh.
Like, right down to, like, the horny toads and, like, the weird ones that have, like, spiky scales and stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's one of those animated films that I catch something new every time I see it.
Yeah. We actually own that one, but it's still in its wrapper.
Uh-huh.
My husband really wanted us to buy it, and then we've never actually watched it since we saw it in the theater. And I keep being like, we should go watch that, honey, since we bought it.
Yeah, and then before that, the other movie I did that with was Coraline.
We started with this wonderful conversation about this majestic film, Doctor Strange, and we've been reduced down to talking about a Johnny Depp gecko.
Well, I want to put my 2 cents in before you say how awesome Doctor Strange is, because that was a really good movie. I went and saw it. The last one for me that I actually watched twice in the theater was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh.
I adore that movie.
Then
I watched it twice once we bought it for the house, too.
It's a fun movie. I'm not sure, even despite my love of space operas, I'm not sure if I'd put it in my personal collection or not, though.
Well, I think it would go into my personal collection because I only allow 2 things in my collection. Movies that have robots as a main theme and pirate movies.
I don't remember any robots.
It's a little bit of both of those, yeah.
But there are definitely space pirates.
Rocket Raccoon's like half robot. And so is God, what is her name? Why can't I think of her name? The green chick. She's basically half robot too. They both are like.
You had to draw the line very early on cyborgs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So. Was that a comment about our conversation, Patrick, or was that in regards?
Not me. Not I, sir. Not I.
Oh. Tonight I am making one of the bigger steps into my transition for Manga Studio. See what you think so far. I was having a little trouble getting used to the word balloons.
Yeah, they don't live up to what you can do in Illustrator from what I've seen of most people. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when I bought it, I thought that was half the point of what you were wanting it for, but I'm sure I'll find better tips soon.
From what I've seen, the best feature of Manga Studio is its brush control.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's been drawing me to it is there's a nice, I can't put my finger on it, but there's a sort of, as far as drawing from scratch, there's a nice organic natural feel to it that I like a lot better than Photoshop. So I frequently find myself, even if I'm doing something, I mean, I can do backgrounds in Manga Studio. I can't do backgrounds to save my life in Photoshop. It's the straight line feature.
Yeah. I really abuse the color adjustment commands in Photoshop, so that's something I haven't taken the time to tweak in Manga Studio. Everything I've done in Manga Studio so far is the black and white part of the work.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really figured out how to get good coloration in there the way I can in Photoshop. So
I was wondering about that. I've run into a handful of people who do their drawing in Photoshop in Manga Studio and then go back to Photoshop to color. And considering I've been having trouble with dropping down color layers in Manga Studio so far, I might find myself still doing that.
So I did, that is another thing, is it has some sweet color fill commands that make flatting so much easier. So I forgot, yeah, the last color project I did, I was doing the flatting in Manga Studio as well. So I would flat in Manga Studio and then bring it to Photoshop for shading.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to talk about Doctor Strange some more, Mark, since we totally stole your thunder?
Well, I might see it tomorrow, but I'm not sure.
It was good. And like visually it was amazing. Like that's one of those movies that like you could argue whether you thought the plot was like perfect or not, but oh my gosh, the visuals. It's definitely worth it for the visuals.
I thought it was very in keeping with all the comics that I saw of Doctor Strange.
Yeah, same here. I feel like they really did a good homage to it while really letting the capabilities of video actually be video. Like it didn't feel like a bunch of still shots of things that looked like better painted version of the comics. Like the entire way the motion was in the movie was really really amazing.
Kevin Smith did a great had a rather amusing comment to say about it where he described it as Inception on cocaine.
Yeah. Oh, and more colorful. Oh my gosh, the colors.
I mean, I'm a huge fan of Inception, so that's a fairly ringing endorsement for me.
It makes Inception look like a child's drawing.
Oh dear. That's
I can't say enough about the visuals in Doctor Strange, the intricacy of them. Oh my gosh, and the clothing, it had this amazing tactile quality to everybody's costumes. I would love to see just flat high-res versions of those costumes and study them for a while.
So Stowe and I were in the theater together watching it, and we were watching the credits because it has not just one teaser, but 2 Marvel teasers in it.
Yeah, 2 stingers.
And there's a lot of rotating of elements in this. There was a crew dedicated just to the rotation of elements, and there were 25 people involved just dealing with that.
Rotation of elements?
Well, remember how the buildings and some elements of the buildings would rotate in and out and almost look like gears?
Yeah.
That's all her job was to make that rotation part work.
25 people just to make all the motion work. Oh my god.
Just the rotating motion.
I can believe it because I remember while watching that movie, I'm like, how did they even? This is just how many years did they plot these scenes? Like just the like.
I mean, that's interesting. It reminds me of Aardman Studios for Arthur Christmas. They had a entire crew for just doing all of the monitors in the command center. So there's some really incredible detail.
And they had like every special effects studio, not just Industrial Light and Magic, but everybody. There were 7 different studios involved.
Oh, cool.
With the making of this project. They had to farm it out to everybody.
what does Disney have its own shop in, like? Oh, wait a minute.
They own Industrial Light and Magic now, don't
no,
they?
I'm sorry. I answered that question.
Well, actually, no. Wait, they own Lucasfilms. I'd have to actually check if they actually own Industrial Light and Magic. Because those are actually two different entities, even though Lucas originally owned both of them. Okay, it looks like they did get Industrial Light and Magic alongside Lucasfilms when they did the Star Wars deal. So. Oh God, I made this really ugly. Go away.
So now, marijuana is now illegal in both California and Nevada.
Legal or illegal?
Legal.
Oh, because you said illegal.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Did I
Like,
say illegal?
what? You did.
Yes,
You
you
did.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Yeah, it's legal down the entire West Coast now.
Something that got overlooked in the
Election.
in the denial bubble.
Yeah. I think a lot of states are. I think it's gonna start dominoing simply because money. Honestly,
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna start
how much
being.
these states have been, how much Washington and Oregon and Colorado have been making in money. It's money left behind on the table.
Yeah. And especially when like so many states are complaining because their citizens like go to these other states to buy marijuana. It's like, as long as it's legal somewhere, your people are gonna go and buy their pot. So you can either get that money for yourself or you can whine about not making the money. Sorry, folks. That's your two options.
So we went straight from psychedelic movies into psychedelics.
I don't think pot is a psychedelic.
It's a mild
Ooh,
hallucinogen,
yeah,
depending on the strain. I mean, it's not in the same category as like acid and shrooms, but it is, depending on the strain, it is anywhere from a light hallucinogen to a very light hallucinogen. But there is some hallucinogen in there. That's actually one of the benefits of the breeding of strains for medical uses, is that some of the medical strains have been able to breed out most of the hallucinogens. So if you're using it for simply pain reduction reasons, you don't have to get quite so tripped up just to get the pain benefits. Oh, how did this, what?
So Patrick, how do you like this earlier time being on the East Coast?
I mean, I like it. When it was the previous time, it was 10:30 at night my time. I would kind of have to, come home from work, have dinner, and then like make a plan to like drink some coffee, stay up, just to be able to start the conversation at 10:30. So this is quite nice. And someday we'll see Stowe again. Someday.
I was supposed to see him this morning, at another get-together group that we have here in Tacoma called Freelance Fandango, where freelancers get together. And he's sort of like, he started that group as well, because the man feels lonely sometimes. And so he picks times and locations and events that work out for him. And
Did he show up to this one today?
well, actually, he texted me at this last night because he was feeling kind of the stomach bug last night. So he told me at the last minute that he wasn't going to be there today. So
So
I
he
told
starts these groups
that
and then
I would go there and pretty much man the ship, because I'm a fairly regular attendee there. And at one time, we had like 12 people showing up on a regular basis. And then we changed our venue because we were having a hard time getting table space. The place was forgetting to reserve our table. And with 12 people showing up and no place to sit, it was problematic. So we found another coffee house, and we were just beginning to get our regular attendance back when, out of the blue, the coffee house we were going to, they closed up shop with absolutely no warning.
wow.
And there was just a sign on the door. Everyone was kind of like, "What?" But they were open yesterday. That type of thing.
Oh yeah, you told me about that.
And so Stowe was stuck having to find yet another place. And he didn't want to go back to the previous place because, again, seating. But I think we could have gone back to the previous place and worked on our attendance. But I also know he absolutely hated the Wi-Fi at the other place. And the new place we're at now, the light might be poor. It might be kind of a hidden location. It's easy enough to not find it with an address, people around town know the location. But I do think that the abundant Wi-Fi was a selling factor for him. Plus, we might have had a hard time getting back to the original place that we had abandoned. And we would just be facing the same problems all over again. So maybe going to this new place. But our numbers, I don't think we have had more than half a dozen people show up at the new place. Part of it is some of our regular attendees got working day jobs, as opposed to being able to, because we meet at 11 o'clock. I would I used to, when I first moved to Tacoma, set up a time every month where I would go and say, hey, I'm going to such and so place, I'm going to have lunch. If you want to be there, show up. And I would get anywhere from, a dozen people to 4 people. But then I started getting really busy and I didn't commit myself to it, and I stopped making the phone calls. And this was before, social media really came on the forefront. It was just a matter of, calling people or doing an email blast. Patrick, do you belong to any drawing groups there, or are you such a homebody that this is your only outing?
I'm pretty antisocial, so the part of the problem is I work in the city of Philadelphia and I live about an hour west of the city. So I have like a 45-minute train commute. So if there was a drawing group in the city, and I'm sure there's several of them, the chances of them being like near the train station and like starting directly after work so I can get home in a normal time, it just wouldn't. I don't see that happening. So I'm stuck here doing epic sketch time. What do you know?
Well, Thanksgiving's going to be this week. What's everybody's plans?
Well, generally, at the moment, I'm helping with a church potluck. And I might get another invite, which always clashes slightly, but I...
Do you have dueling churches that try to woo you to their potlucks?
Not yet.
That sounds like a good problem to have.
Like
No,
the Unitarians compete with the Protestants, compete with the...
Mormons, I guess? I mean, the Mormons are like, they're after everybody. And sometimes they ply you with tasty food, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Bill's like, yes, you're right. You are correct.
Generally, as far as plying with food, I've yet to have seen it beat by the Catholics. St. James has a couple of Filipino cooks who are regulars there.
Ooh.
Isn't St. James kind of busy on Thanksgiving?
I have no idea. Never been there on Thanksgiving.
For those of you who don't live in Seattle, St. James is the largest Catholic church in Seattle.
Ah.
Big, gorgeous, copper roofed Gothic thing that's just absolutely gorgeous on the inside. Been there for a couple of Sunday masses. Christmas masses.
My favorite is their All Saints Mass. They very frequently do Mozart's funeral requiem about every other year or so, and listening to it in context with what is essentially a professional level chorus with those acoustics is amazing.
Now, I have a rather large family, and rather than subject my wife to them for both Thanksgiving and Christmas, we've gotten to the habit of going to her family during Thanksgiving. She's got a very small family, but lately the passes have been just terrible. And ever since we got this new hybrid car, it floats around on the ice. So we've been kind of doing Thanksgiving at home. Last year, she did a pork crown roast, and it was so good. Then she's going to do it again for me this year. I'm really looking forward to that.
Ooh.
My wife is an excellent cook. It's one of the reasons why I weigh 30 pounds more than I should.
I remember a conversation recently because, like, you were saying that she doesn't let you cook because if it's not good food, she's not going to let you, cook.
She is such a foodie that she will not let me cook. No, it's either she cooks it or we go out and eat out someplace nice. Monday is usually our night to eat out on a traditional basis, and we've been trying to find a really good uppity, trendy burger place that really knows how to do a burger right.
Oh, good luck in this town.
Well, they've opened up 2 new places in Tacoma. One's called The Stack, and there's another one that seems to be overpriced, but I don't think my wife's interested in it because we stopped going to... We used to get these fairly decent, relatively reasonably priced burger at the Ram that were very tasty, but their service has gone so drastically downhill in the last 2 visits that we just aren't going to go back. And so she said she was reading on the Yelp reviews, and there were a lot of really good reviews when they first opened up, but since then they've kind of gone the way of the Ram. And so I don't know where we're going to end up eating tonight. We'll probably end up having Thai food.
I've yet to have a problem with the Ram, though admittedly I'm generally just there for the beer.
Yeah, I remember the one time I went, that was one of the best porters I've ever had. I don't really remember much about the food, but I remember the porter was really good.
What is the Ram? What is that?
A local restaurant chain in the Seattle area that charges, it's sort of like, imagine Red Robin without the children, and more of a cigar smoking atmosphere minus the cigars, and a bit more of a sports club or a sports bar feel to it.
Okay.
As well as being one of the posh brew pubs.
Yeah, they have a fairly nice selection. But we've got so many brew pubs over here that no one really thinks about going to the Ram because, oh, they've got a nice selection of beer. No, you go to the Ram because you want a fairly decent sit-down meal.
Well, I go for the beers, but keep in mind the 2 that I know that are in my vicinity are very accessible.
So, if you look at my screen, does anyone recognize this monster from the movies?
Is that a Triffid?
No, this is something called the Creeping Terror.
Oh, I know of the Creeping Terror, but I don't believe I've ever seen any of the stills from the movie.
And you see this kind of Freudian-looking app opening down at the bottom.
Oh, this is a Freudian.
That's its mouth, and it will swallow people whole into that thing. This was featured on Mystery Science Theater and was referred to as the carpet monster because it looked like it was tacked together with a bunch of carpets.
Yeah, it looks kind of like you took a fake houseplant and like a melty cheese pizza and something else, put it all together. Some pipe cleaners, maybe.
And unfortunately, my illustration of it actually improves it significantly. So I'm just cleaning up this tonight.
Is that for you were making like a deck of cards with a bunch of classic movie monsters or something? Is that for that project?
This is for my second deck. This is my first deck that I'm working on is obscure movie monsters. And when I was doing that, people were suggesting a lot of aliens. So this is a deck of obscure movie aliens, and I was able to find just as many aliens as I was monsters.
Oh, I'm not surprised because like aliens, people can go, they could go even more crazy because like they're not even from Earth. They don't even have to look like they're a weird shark, wolf, swamp, anything. They can just be crazy looking.
Oh, there's one that I've drawn that looks like just. Okay, imagine a guy wearing a leather jacket, but his head is this giant black spray painted apple fritter with a tiny TV screen embedded into it.
What?
I wonder if I can find that. Let me see if I can. Oh, it's a horrible looking thing. Let's see. My brain planet Auros. Let's see. I Married a Monster, the alien from Dark Star.
Didn't you do that one in the last deck? I'm sure I saw you draw it.
Oh, you might have seen me draw it, but it wasn't in the deck.
That's awesome.
Decoys, Laser Blast, Pod People. I'm not finding it. Oh, here's Trumpy from the Pod People. This is basically an E.T. ripoff movie.
I'm sure I've seen that one, though I might be getting it mixed. I think I'm getting it mixed up with that.
You might be thinking of Mac and Me.
I was actually thinking of the critter from that space show, that children's space show starring John Denver.
Oh,
Alf?
No.
this was a Saturday morning thing. Bob Denver and this other guy were stuck in this space capsule, and
Something Space Goofs or...
it was basically the worst version of
Gilligan in Space.
yeah, basically it was Gilligan in space. And I think that character's name was Snorky or something. Oh, it was something horrible.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember seeing even more than half of an episode, but...
I saw several episodes. I was of an age, so. But I can't remember its title.
I know.
So, Crystal, what's your household having for Thanksgiving?
So my husband is super boring, and I am too good at making turkey, so we're having like classic white America's Thanksgiving. Like a roast turkey, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, green bean casserole. The desserts is about the only place we get really kind of inventive. My mom's making brownies and cookies, and I'm late making my friend's birthday cake, so I'm making her almond torte cake with pandan flavoring in there. And we're gonna have that with Thanksgiving. What else are we having? We usually do like a big veggie tray, and my husband has this dill dip that his family makes that he always makes a big batch of that we have with cold veggies. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We eat cranberry sauce out of a can. We're terrible. I like to cook, but I can never get anybody to agree to do something for Thanksgiving that's not just like turkey and green bean casserole and mashed potatoes again.
It's funny. I never grew up with green bean casserole, and so suddenly I find myself these days actually experimenting with some of the more high-end recipes.
You know, we never had green bean casserole as a kid either, but now everybody acts like it's not Thanksgiving if we don't have like a 50s housewife green bean casserole. It drives me batty, especially because, like, so my brother's going to be making it this year, and the last time I had theirs, it was literally like green beans and mushroom soup, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm always a sucker for cream of mushrooms, so that's a...
I am too, but so often it just gets so overbaked in the oven that it becomes mush, and ugh. Not a fan. If I had my choice, I make a really yummy tater tot casserole where you take broccoli and steam it a little bit, and you add like a little bit of cheese soup and then some fresh cheese and tater tots on top. A lot of cracked pepper. And it comes out really tender, and the tater tots are crunchy, and it's much more pleasant.
Have you seen these new tater tots they have, where they're little short tater tots?
Oh, crowns. Yeah.
Yeah, oh my, I love those because I'm all about the crunch.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I love them too. I have to kind of sneak them in because my husband gets all weird if
What?
you have crowns instead of tots.
He's a traditionalist with the tots.
I know. I don't get it either. It's funny. He's half Irish, half Polish, and a self-admitted like potato fanatic. But then he gets super fussy on certain potato things, and it makes me kind of sad.
So how many of you have seen this wonderful classic, The Killer Clowns from Outer Space?
I do remember that one.
Wow. These are epic. I've not seen any of these movies. I am definitely not a horror movie
You
aficionado.
You need to watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space because it is so much fun.
Can I get it on Netflix or anything?
No idea.
Let's see. I wonder if you could. I don't think it's on Netflix.
Oh, one fun one that I just started watching. Has anybody watched the BBC version of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell?
Oh yeah, I just finished watching that.
I'm two episodes in.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, because I very much enjoyed the book when I read it about 10 years ago, and this is a wonderfully straight, though admittedly trimmed adaptation.
Now, my wife read the book, and she thought they were doing a fairly good job, but she didn't get into the series like I did.
Mhm.
Lady and gentlemen,
You guys sign off, sir? Patrick?
I thought he was announcing something, and then he went silent.
I think you meant to say goodbye because it is 5:30. It's time to wrap up.
Oh.
But I'm willing to hang on for a few more minutes. I don't need to leave for a little bit.
Oh yeah, I'm 5 seconds away from wanting to show this off, so
I've not got as much progress in an hour as I would have liked, but that goes that way sometimes with the redraw pages.
okay. See how that looks.
You have to say something, Bill, so we can so it stays up on the screen.
Okay, this is the beginning of this year's Christmas story.
Wow. But do you trust the flying shark to give you a ride?
Uh-huh.
So what's the flying shark from, Bill?
Well, technically it's from Fear and Loathing, except I'm taking Hunter Thompson extremely literally. In the book, it's actually a Cadillac convertible, but he keeps referring to it as the Great Red Shark.
Ah, so this shark will be colored and be red.
Yes. And so here we...
And how many people do you expect will actually get that reference?
With any luck, there'll be with any luck, anybody who gets it, it'll just be gravy, and everybody else will just appreciate the flying great red shark.
And on that wonderful note, people, this has been another episode of Epic Sketch Time. Thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully, Stowe will be able to host next week.
Okay.
If he isn't available to host, does anyone else want to host?
Unfortunately, I have a conflict, so I probably won't be able to make it.
Okay. Well, we'll try to keep everyone abreast via Twitter.
Okay, cool. Well, you all have a good evening then.
Sounds good. All right. Signing off. Nice seeing y'all again.
Good night.